A dark, possessive heat flared in Jungkook's eyes, seeing Jimin like this, all defiant challenge and silk-wrapped submission. His fingers curled tighter around Jimin's neck, grip just firm enough to be possessive, without cutting off his breath. He pressed even closer, his body molding to the other man's, the heat between them, burning so hot he could feel it in his bones. He leaned in, lips brushing over Jimin's ear, voice a low, rough whisper. You're asking for trouble, princess. Then give it to me. Jimin whispered, his voice so damn breathless, it almost broke the word in half. His head tilted back further, baring his throat like an offering, one hand slipping from Jungkook's shoulder to tangle tightly in his hair. The city was silent around them, the van forgotten, the mission erased. There was only this, only heat, only want, only the unspoken war they'd been fighting for years, collapsing into a single moment of surrender. Prove I'm not the one in control. Jungkook let out a low, rough sound, something between a growl and a laugh, as Jimin's fingers tangled in his hair, pulling just hard enough to send a jolt straight down his spine. That single whisper, give it to me, unraveled something primal inside him. He didn't answer with words. Instead, he crushed their lips together again, fierce, desperate, like he wanted to steal the breath from Jimin's lungs and keep it for himself. One hand stayed at his throat, controlling the tilt of his head. The other slid down to grip his waist hard as he pressed him deeper into the pillar. When he finally broke the kiss, both of them were gasping. You want proof? He breathed against Jimin's swollen lips. I'll make you forget your own name. A beat passed, a flash of fire in both their eyes, before Jungkook captured Jimin's mouth again. Jimin's mind spun at the words, heat flaring through him like wildfire, the grip at his throat, the hand at his waist, the heat of Jungkook's body, pinning him to the pillar. It was all so goddamn overwhelming. But he'd be damned if he let himself fall apart without putting up a fight. His fingers tightened in Jungkook's hair, pulling just enough to tip the other man's head back as he deepened the kiss, tongue sliding out to tease his lip. It tasted like domination and defiance. Heat, fire. A low, rough sound rumbled out of Jungkook at the sudden move, his head tilting back to the pull of Jimin's hand. His pulse thrummed wildly in his neck as Jimin's tongue teased his lip, fire flaring through his veins at that hint of dominance, that show of control. His fingers dug tighter into Jimin's throat in retaliation, a firm warning, a silent reminder who was in charge. Don't push your luck, princess. He growled against Jimin's mouth before taking his lower lip between his teeth and biting down hard. Jimin's breath hitched, the pain of the bite mixing with heat and something almost sweet, sending a jolt of heat straight to his groin. He let out an unsteady breath, his head still spinning from the kiss and the way Jungkook was holding him. He'd be lying if he said he didn't want this. Not with the way his body was on fire under the other man's touch, but he'd be damned if he admitted it. He smirked, his voice a soft, dangerous taunt. Or what? Jungkook's grip at Jimin's throat tightened just a fraction, enough to make his breath stutter, his pulse leap, but not enough to cut him off. His dark eyes burned into Jimin's, filled with something feral, something raw. Or I'll make you scream before I let you come. Asterisk, 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 he growled, voice low and rough, like thunder before a storm. Asterisk. And then, without warning, he slammed their mouths together again in a kiss so deep, and punishing it stole the air from Jimin's lungs. Asterisk control wasn't up for debate anymore. Asterisk, it was taken. Jimin's mind went blank in the best way possible as Jungkook's words, that low, rough voice, made his body tremble. He tried to come up with a smart response, something that would prove he still had some control left, that he was still in charge. But all he could focus on was the way Jungkook's tongue tangled with his, the heat of their skin, the way his heart was slamming in his chest. He'd be damned if he let himself lose. So he responded the only way he knew how. Asterisk, he gripped Jungkook's hair tighter. Asterisk, Jungkook let out a low groan at the feeling of Jimin's fingers tangling in his hair, the sound swallowed by the kiss. Every nerve was on fire. He felt like he was burning from the inside out, and he loved every goddamn second of it. Asterisk, his hand slid under Jimin's shirt, fingers splaying against the bare, heated skin of his hip, gripping so hard it almost hurt. Asterisk, he broke the kiss just long enough to speak, voice low, rough, and breathless. Asterisk, asterisk, you're testing my patience, princess. Asterisk, Jimin's mind was hazing with heat, breath ragged and body trembling with need under Jungkook's touch. The way the other man was gripping his hip, possessive, almost harsh, was driving him crazy. The sharp edge of pain and the promise of more making his head spin. Asterisk, he tried to force a smirk, his voice coming out breathless, almost a gasp, when he finally spoke. Asterisk, asterisk, maybe I like testing your patience. Asterisk, the words, breathless, defiant, damn near begging, made something snap inside of Jungkook, the heat flaring through his veins. With dangerous intensity, he let out a rough, dark chuckle, his grip on Jimin's hip tightening as he pressed their bodies impossibly closer, their hips grinding together, almost painfully. Asterisk, he was close enough to feel the way Jimin's heart was racing, the way he was shaking with barely contained need. He leaned in, lips brushing over the other man's ear. You're playing with fire, princess. Jimin's breath hitched at the dark, growling tone of Jungkook's voice, the way his lips brushed over his ear, sending a shiver down his spine. He let out a soft, shaky breath, his body still trembling with heat and want, need, and defiant desire. He tried to push back his own desperation, to keep his voice steady, but it was getting harder with every second, with every touch, with every hot word that was making his mind spin. He finally managed to speak, his voice low, breathless, then burn me. Asterisk, Jungkook's breath caught at the words soft, raw, and dripping with surrender, wrapped in silk. Jimin wasn't just giving in. He was daring him, and God help him. He'd never been able to resist a dare. In one swift move, Jimin spun them, reversing their positions with shocking strength, and slammed Jungkook's back against the iron pillar, his hands pinned, Jungkook's wrists above his head, eyes blazing with dark fire, under the dim moonlight. You wanted control, Jimin whispered, voice rough like sin. Let's see how you handle being on the other side. He dropped his mouth to Jungkook's neck, biting down just hard enough to mark. My turn. Jungkook let out a low, rough sound as Jimin flipped their positions, his back hitting the pillar with a dull thud. He was stunned for only a moment, surprised by the other man's sudden strength. But then his lips curled into a dark, dangerous smirk. He struggled slightly against Jimin's grip on his wrists, testing him, loving how good it felt to be pinned for once. You're bold tonight, he growled, but you really think you can keep me here? Jimin let out a low, mocking laugh against Jungkook's neck, the sound sending a shiver down his spine. He loved the way he was struggling, how he was still trying to keep up his defiant act, even while pinned to the pillar. He could tell it was taking all his self-control not to moan. He leaned in closer, his lips brushing over Jungkook's ear, voice rough and low, filled with dark promise. Damn right I do, he whispered, and by the time I'm done with you, you won't be able to move a muscle. Jungkook let out a low, guttural sound deep in his throat, half growl, half groan, as Jimin's words sank in. He could feel the heat of the other man's breath against his neck, the way his body pressed flush against him, like he was trying to consume him whole. The grip on his wrists was firm, commanding, and it was turning him on more than he'd ever admit. He tested the hold again, pulling slightly, but didn't break free. Instead, he tilted his head to the side, baring more of his neck as a challenge. Big talk for someone who hasn't done shit yet. He taunted, voice rough and laced with fire. Prove you're not just all talk. Jimin's breath caught at the challenge, his grip tightening on Jungkook's wrists, just enough to make him feel it. The low growl that escaped him was pure possession, dark, hungry, dangerous. In one smooth move, he released Jungkook's wrists, only to slam both hands against his chest and shove him harder into the pillar. Before Jungkook could react, Jimin dropped to his knees in front of him. His eyes locked onto Jungkook's with a smirk full of fire. You want proof? He didn't wait for an answer. His fingers hooked into the waistband of Jungkook's pants, yanking them down just enough. And then he leaned in. Then take it. Jungkook's breath caught at the sudden movement, eyes locked on Jimin's face as he went down on his knees in front of him. His heart was slamming in his chest, the heat between them almost unbearable. He barely had time to take a breath before Jimin had his pants down. And then he let out a low, rough sound as Jimin leaned in, the heat of his breath making him shudder with anticipation. He wanted this, wanted it so goddamn badly, but he still had his pride. You're playing a dangerous game. He growled. Jimin's eyes flicked up at the words, locking onto Jungkook's. God, the fire there was almost beautiful. He held his gaze, the smirk on his face never faltering as he leaned in even more. He didn't answer. Instead, he let his tongue slide over his lower lip, slow and deliberate and filthy, as he ran his hands up Jungkook's muscled thighs, nails scraping lightly against the skin. Maybe I like playing with fire. Asterisk, 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 he whispered. And you just lit the match. Asterisk. The touch of Jimin's fingers on his skin was like electricity, sparking through his veins and making him ache with need. He watched through half-lidded eyes as Jimin's tongue darted out to wet his lips, the sight sending a jolt of heat straight to his core. He gritted his teeth against the growing desire, refusing to give in just yet. Asterisk. He leaned back into the iron pillar, trying to appear nonchalant, even as his breath hitched in his chest. He was still in control. You don't know who you're messing around with. Asterisk. The challenge in Jungkook's voice was clear, but Jimin could see the way his chest was rising and falling a little faster than normal, the way his lips were parted, the way his eyes were blazing with hunger. He was desperate and trying to conceal it, so damn proud. Jimin was going to make him fall apart. Asterisk. He slowly trailed his hands further up, fingers tracing over the inside of Jungkook's thighs, closer and closer to where he desperately wanted them. Oh, I think I have a pretty good idea. Asterisk, 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 he said, voice low and rough. Jungkook's breath hitched as Jimin's fingers inched higher, sparks of heat shooting through him. With every gentle touch, his jaw clenched, his body trembling with the effort it took to keep himself from begging for more. He wouldn't give in that easily. He wouldn't give Jimin the satisfaction. He was stronger than that. Even if his body was telling him otherwise. Asterisk, asterisk. He tried to sound arrogant, defiant, but there was a hint of breathlessness in his voice when he spoke again. You're underestimating me. Asterisk. The sound of Jungkook's voice, the way it was wavering with each labored breath, the fact that he was still fighting to sound cool and in control, it was making Jimin's head spin. Asterisk. It took every ounce of self-control. He had not to just lose it right there. Instead, he kept his expression calm and collected as he slowly moved his hands further up, his fingers so very close now to where Jungkook wanted them most. Guess we'll just have to find out. Asterisk. And then teasing, deliberate, he stopped. Asterisk. A strangled sound of protest left Jungkook's lips as Jimin's hands stopped their torturous journey up his legs. He couldn't believe it. Jimin was toying with him, taunting him, and it was driving him insane. His body was on fire, aching for more of that hot, gentle touch, his mind a mess of heat and desperate need. Asterisk. He let out a low, rough growl, his voice dripping with frustration and desire. Asterisk. You goddamn tease. Asterisk. Jimin let out a low, dark laugh at the growl. Loving the way Jungkook was unraveling, he slowly looked up, eyes glinting with mischief and something far more dangerous. Asterisk. He leaned in close, so close his breath ghosted over Jungkook's skin, but still didn't touch where it mattered most. Say please. Asterisk. Jungkook's breathing was ragged, his body trembling with need. He was losing control, and he knew it. He hated how fast his will was crumbling under Jimin's touch, how goddamn desperate he was for more. And now he was being teased, taunted, and told to beg. Asterisk. He bit back a low curse, his fingers clenching into fists. Asterisk. Asterisk. You boz. Asterisk. Ard. Asterisk. 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 He growled, voice rough with hunger and pride. Asterisk. I don't beg. Asterisk. Jimin smirked, slow and devastating. As he watched JIKOOK fight the inevitable, he could see it in his eyes, the want, the fire, the silent surrender building behind that stubborn pride. Asterisk, he leaned even closer, lips brushing against the sensitive skin of JIKOOK's inner thigh, teeth grazing lightly, before whispering asterisk, then you don't get what you need. Asterisk, one hand slid up to cup him through his boxers, just once. Firm, teasing, asterisk, then pulled away completely. And we both know how good I am at leaving you wanting. Asterisk, JIKOOK let out a strangled sound at the brief, maddening touch, the warmth of Jimin's hand, the promise of more, only to have it ripped away. His body was on fire, every nerve screaming for release, and Jimin was just pulling back, smirking like he'd already won. Asterisk, he gritted his teeth, breath coming in short bursts as he fought to keep his voice steady. But it came out rough, raw with need. You're gonna regret this. Asterisk, Jimin let out a low, dark laugh at the threat. He could see the way JIKOOK was trembling, the way his body was begging for release, for more, for the pleasure he refused to ask for. Jimin had him right where he wanted, on the edge, burning with need, and still too goddamn proud to give in. Asterisk, he slowly sat up, still kneeling between JIKOOK's spread thighs, and let out a low, mocking hum. Is that a challenge? He whispered, voice laced with dark promise. Asterisk, the sight of Jimin kneeling in front of him, teasing, mocking, so goddamn close, and yet so goddamn far, was going to break him. His body was shaking with need, his control slipping with every second that passed, and now he was being challenged. He gritted his teeth, jaw clenching hard. He was close to begging, but he didn't want to give Jimin the satisfaction. Not yet. Your cock asterisk why, he growled, and you talk too damn much. Asterisk, Jimin let out another dark laugh as he heard the frustration in JIKOOK's voice. He knew how close the other man was to breaking, how he was trying so hard to hold onto his stubborn pride, to keep his control from completely unraveling. And it was making this so much more satisfying. He slowly reached out and ran his fingers along the inside of JIKOOK's thighs again, the touch so deliciously light, so full of promise. You like it when I talk too goddamn much, he whispered. Admit it.